right.
How many is it this year?
How many?
Movies.
There was 4 that was announced. I already did. So the main Superman.
It's kind of 2.
This one, Hush, and Wonder Woman, right? I think I'm doing 3.
You're pretty busy.
Yeah, it's been pretty busy for the last like 3 or 4 years. So
When you get some time off.
pretty soon actually. This next after this round, I think I'm slowing down. So I'm going to be doing, I believe, like every other one. So yeah.
Feels like you guys have really been on a roll lately, though. You've had a lot of really big winners. How do you feel like this one kind of slides into that momentum that you guys have built?
It's tough because I know like a lot of times when people watch movies, right? They'll usually gravitate towards the ones that's a lot more sort of like heartfelt. The ones that sort of like is probably a little more tragic, like dire, soul-wrenching things happen. And so those usually have a tendency, especially if they're sort of steeped in like superhero lore or history. Right? But we can't do those all the time because it's
sure.
I mean, it's like we have to mix the flavors up. Because again, if we just do soul crushing to soul crushing to soul crushing to soul crushing, I think everybody's going to be bored and saying like, oh, they just keep doing this soul crushing stuff, and and so. Again, it's difficult because sometimes, again, there's going to be something light, and sometimes, somebody that's beyond, us as far as creators that are making decisions like this is popular or this is whatever, and we want to fast track this, and sometimes it gets, you got to, like come up with an idea within a couple of weeks, and then you gotta like bring it to script, and then you got to produce it.
Right.
What I mean? And sometimes we don't have a lot of time. Most of the time we don't have a lot of time, but this one in this case. I really like it, personally. I think, but I like exploring characters, and I like psychology of characters, and I think this one in particular, we sort of touch upon characters that are not sort of just your common,
totally.
I'm a hero, and how do I live up to, how do I, not mess up my friends, you know what I mean, or whatever, or like how do I get stronger, or how do I, I think some of these are real, like, mental health type things. You know what I mean? It's kind of like I have this issue and I can't deal with it, or I'm trying to deal with it, and so it's been a lot of fun, to be honest. And I think like a lot of credit has to go to the writers for pairing these people or putting people in certain scenarios that. I don't know. It was a lot of fun, and I think editing and watching it and stuff like that, like subtle things about like, oh, those people are together and they're watching this and they're doing that and they're getting affected by this. I don't know. It's very subtle. Maybe it's only something that I'll appreciate, or like if you're really really into it, you'll appreciate. Right. But there's a lot of really touching things in it. So it's one of the ones I like the most, sort of working on. So
very cool. Can you talk a little bit about how you've got to maybe cleanse your palate in between movies to change the tone in between the different projects?
I kind of, to be honest, and I don't want to sound like a complainer or whiner, but I really don't have the time. I mean, my overlap is so nuts. It's like right now, even though I'm not directing as much, I'm in post. I'm developing a script with a part of a writing thing with a script that's coming up. I'm doing post on 3 different things right now. I'm finished, I'm trying to. We just shipped one of them. I'm in post on 2 of them, and again, I'm on like script meetings with this other one that I'm going to do in like a couple of months or something like that. So it's difficult, and I think that's the grind of, for all intents and purposes, television. The television schedule, even though it is a DTV, when it's produced, it's pretty crisp. I mean, honestly, we're not movies, right? We don't get 2 years, 5 years, $100 million to make a movie. We get 6 months, and we get $3 million. Right. I mean, right. And like now, keep pumping it out, So it's hard keeping fresh, It's hard having to shift gears. You know, when you have to do things like say like a Walk by Gaslight, where all of a sudden now you're in a Victorian era. Like how this should feel different than a modern summer blockbuster movie. You know, how do you do that? You know what I mean? And so, in one hand, it's invigorating because you know it's not just about trying to like run as fast as you can. It's kind of like you're still running, but you got to like slow down a little bit and like go like no, I don't just go to my normal instinct. I gotta let me look at some stuff and see if I'm inspired by something. Maybe, how do I make it so it feels different? You know? I mean, it's fun in a kind of a masochistic kind of way, you know, just because as small as our crew is, again, working with like Bruce Tim and James Tucker, who are veterans and experts at this stuff. It's a joy because I really do feel like, and I refer to this a lot with my team. You know, it's like I have a team full of snipers basically. I was like, we could shoot anything within a 10-mile radius or whatever, one shot, one kill kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because I do feel like, as far as like how fast we do it and what we do, whatever, we're all experts in that stuff. You know, again, I'm sorry, that sounds like I'm bragging, but that gives me sort of the confidence to sort of move forward, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because there have been times, and a lot of times, I have to work with new people. I mean, I say this a lot, internally. I'm sorry if I'm going on too much, but like when Lauren and I used to do Lauren Montgomery, we were two directors on directed videos like 10 years ago. Our teams were full of directors that were just waiting to get put onto different things, right? But now it's like some of my team is just fresh people that have only done like one or two jobs and stuff like that. So they don't have this sort of like mature sort of storytelling kind of thing, but you got to make it work, So it gets really, really daunting sometimes. There's times where it's like, this looks like crap. I don't know how we're going to make something out of this. But it always comes through in the editing, and again, like everybody's sort of from our tops. It's amazing to me. Like there's times where I'm just like, this is going to be absolute crap. But it comes out, and you're just like, you know what? There's a lot of heart. It makes sense, and it feels like something. You know what I mean? But, so yeah, I mean, again, I work with the group full of elite snipers. So
can you say which one of those projects you thought was crap and were presently surprised?
Because even in some ways, they all start really, like even this one, like we had to do a lot in post. I think a lot of just sort of the way that the industry is right now, because there's so much work that's out there. There's so much action adventure, or with the streaming and all that kind of stuff. There's so many shows that are out there. There's not as many animation companies now, and they're so stretched so thin that the animation quality has dipped a little bit. So we're having to sort of do a lot of post things on it, whether it's After Effects editing. There's a thing where you can manipulate the lighting and the colors and all that called the Fontel system. So we're having to do a lot of that. But in this case, I remember even the Justice League Fatal 5 one. I remember the animation not being quite as crisp, especially the effects. But again, once we sort of target things and we sort of redo certain things, edit bad stuff out, time it, put vignettes on things or whatever, put the music on. Again, I think it feels beautiful. I remember my first feeling of it. I was just like, this looks so horrible, But at the end of it, we're just like, wow, this is going to be a good movie, So yeah. But I think most of them, it starts off that way. I think Crisis on Tutors is the only one from way back when where we're just like, wow, this looks awesome. This looks amazing. We're not going to touch anything. So.
Thank you. Thanks.